You guitar gods keep arguing about gear, and the rest of us will keep working on actual music.
Hey, you know what? That's a fantastic idea. Could you do us all a favor, though? Instead of writing actual music, here's an idea. Try writing actual songs! Hey everybody, guess what? It is the weekend! Hell yes! Hope you're gonna have an awesome weekend. I'm gonna try and have an awesome weekend as well. Hope you're doing great. Got a great show in store for you here. Buckle your seatbelts. This one's going to be an awful lot of fun. Of course, this is SMG Viewers Comments, the show that's about you, not about me. So let's cut the bullshit and get right to it.
Never underestimate the stupidity of the typical person. That's why businesses have evolved the way they have. The most widely successful businesses are the ones that take advantage of people's stupidity, which is infinite. So if you want to get rich, figure out how to prey on stupid people.
Oh, I don't know how true that is. I mean, like, look at Elon Musk. He got stupidly rich by getting money from his family. Seriously, though, I think you do have a very good point on people feeding on other people's stupidity. And when it comes to musicians, I mean, like, let's face it. They're not exactly the most grounded people in the world. They've got great big dreams of stardom and they want to become world famous, and they tend to believe a lot of stuff that might not be quite based in reality, especially when you start putting things to basic scientific tests. But it is what it is. I always say this though, if I didn't have a conscience, I would have started a religion, because that is the biggest money maker of all, and best of all, you don't have to pay any taxes. You know, here's the thing, all bullshit aside, the one thing that pisses me off more than anything is when I see good people being lied to and taken for a ride and sold things they really don't need. And this happens in the music business, of course, but it happens everywhere. It happens in the banking industry. It happens in the loan industry. It happens in the payday loan industry. It's just, it really drives me insane. And that's one of the reasons I started this channel, so I could hopefully pass on a little bit of knowledge and hopefully a little bit of a skeptic mindset to help you guys navigate the minefield that is the music consumer marketplace. Because not everybody's your friend and not everybody's out there to help you achieve your goals. And yes, there are people out there who will gladly take your money without you being completely informed about what you're actually buying. So as the old saying goes, buyer beware. I'm going to do my best to help you guys get through this and hopefully not get ripped off along the way. All I ask is maybe do me a favor and hit the subscribe button. I'd really appreciate it.
Say, Glenn, would it help to point out to all the speaker nihilists that the speaker is the actual last fucking element in the signal chain? I mean, I don't know. Common sense would suggest that if you change the last thing in the signal chain, it'll fundamentally change everything else, because it is, you know, the last damn thing everything runs through.
Shh. Hey, man, you're going to screw with some people's businesses. They've got pickups, tubes, and tonewood to sell. You know, it was kind of funny. Somebody commented on the live stream I did last night when I pulled up my Strat. Oh, the Strat sounds completely different. I'm just like, yeah, because I was playing on the single coils. It's also tuned differently and using different strings. Might that be a deciding factor on the tone? Survey says, why, yes, it does. Seriously, though, yes, every signal you put through your amp is going to be governed by your speaker. And that's why I've created this very special shirt right here. Silly Guitarist, tone is in the speaker. I've got this on the super comfortable long sleeve right here. It's also available on a short sleeve and a couple other items, including, oh, check this out. I've got an awesome coffee mug here, including having the super awesome SMG logo on the back. I gotta say, I really like the new design of these mugs. It's pretty damn cool, pretty slick looking, gotta say. And something even newer here, I've never ever had this for sale. We've even got this. This is a die cut sticker you can buy to put on your guitar case or your bumper or something like that. Or say bus stops around your local guitar store where they're trying to sell you crap you don't need. Seriously, it's a great shirt, and it's something I haven't done in quite a while. Actually, I think the last time I actually put a shirt for sale up was like May of 2022, so it's been about a year. So if you want to get this, it's a super limited run. It's going to be available this weekend only, and it'll be available till end of day Sunday. So I've got some links for that in the description below if you want to get it. Once again, super limited edition. It's only going to be around this weekend, so grab it while you can. Anyway, let's move on.
What's funny is all those little kids in Egg and Fish's Discord all get triggered when you point out that their $5,000 guitars don't sound any different than my $500 guitar. Well, I feel like most people that can't handle being told the truth are just mad children.
or angry consumers. Either way works. I mean, once again, nobody likes to be told that they made the wrong choice. There's nothing inherently wrong with expensive guitars, you know, generally they're pretty good quality. I mean, I've got this rough guitar back here. This isn't a $5,000 guitar, but it's not cheap either. And it plays beautifully, and it plays like a high-end instrument should. The action's great, the fretwork's great, the body's great. Everything about this guitar is absolutely fucking great. Does it sound inherently different from anything else in my collection with a humbucker on it? No! Especially at game. Clean channel, yeah, you'll probably get a bit of difference, but once you start playing at game in the studio, yeah, those differences tend to shrink quite a bit, and they're not as pronounced as marketing would have us believe. So I stress this, guys. I'm not trying to make you angry. I'm trying to make you aware that the price difference isn't necessarily going to be an improvement in your sound. Maybe playability, absolutely. The way all the guitar feels in your lap, sure. But an actual increase in tone, not really so much. Once again, tones in the speaker. Upgrade those first.
I'm probably getting yelled at for this, but okay, why would someone who calls himself an artist want to reproduce another musician's tone or overall sound? I can see wanting a Hetfieldish or Dimebaggish tone, but slavishly copying those tones seems so what you created sounds like an outtake for Master of Puppets or Cowboys from Hell. It feels disrespectful to one's own work. If you put together a band, write songs, and keep your bassist fed and give them toys, why would you not want to sound like you after all that sacrifice?
I think that's a great question, and I wish some people would ask the artists that come into my studio that question, because I get that all the time. Hey, we want the guitar sound like In Flames. Hey, I want fucking Hetfield tone, or I want Slayer tone, I want Pantera, or better yet, I want Slayer meets Pantera. It's like, oh great, how the fuck am I supposed to do that? So that's got me racking my brains out. How do I recreate these sounds? I mean, like the Clayman thing I've been working on since 2005. You know, I came pretty close there with some help from the guy who recorded it, Frederick Nordstrom. But again, I was at NAMM and I talked to the assistant engineer on that record, and I'm like, hey, that was a really cool guitar sound. What speakers were in that cabinet? And I just got, you know, the deer in the headlight look. You know, and again, the Hetfield tone on Master of Puppets. What speakers were in that cabinet? Nobody fucking knows! And it's the insane thing is that's literally the most important part. Nobody ever bothered to write it down or, you know, maybe pop the back off the cabinet there or even the little jack there and shine a flashlight there and write down what type of speakers they were using. And it's like, here we are in 2023, and we're starting to finally realize that, hey, you know what? The speakers might actually be the key to the whole thing. Drives me fucking bonkers that we've got all these amazing tones that people got and nobody ever bothered to write anything down about the most important thing. Yeah, if you go on Master of Puppets, there's all kinds of notes about the studio. They'll say, oh, there was a Marshall cab, here's the wattage, but they don't actually talk about the type of speakers that were in. I've been doing a lot of homework, and a bunch of you guys who watch the show and are on the Discord have also been helping out majorly, and I think we've got it narrowed down between the T75 and the G65. Honestly, I've got some T75s. I've never been a huge fan of the tone off those things. But the 65s definitely are something I haven't encountered yet here in the studio. So I think I'm going to dig up a set and see what I can find and see what kind of tones I can get using that kind of voicing. I'm very curious to hear how this is going to. But truth be told, I wish more bands would come into the studio saying, hey, you know what? Fuck everybody else. I want to sound like my own thing, because that would be easy to do. I've got so many cool speakers in here. I've got some Mojo Tone stuff in here. I've got the Hesu Demons, you know, Celestian Hempbacks, the EVHs. There's all kinds of great stuff out there that's not labeled Vintage 30. If only metal musicians were capable of using their imaginations. Wow, wouldn't that be a great thing?
This bass players are dumb shtick has really gotten old and was never funny.
Well, you know, I would have stopped the bass players are dumb thing, but you guys keep giving me all kinds of new material to work with. Maybe you guys fucking practice? I don't know. Novel suggestion.
Too many metal bassists want to be Steve Harris or Cliff Burton when they should be listening to Ian Hill.
I completely agree with that statement. Ian Hill has got to be one of the most underrated, greatest bass players ever in the history of rock and metal. The guy is just rock solid. Don't take my word for it. Ask Andy Sneap. He'll tell you the same thing. He's the best bass player he's ever worked with. The guy is just absolutely rock solid. So yes, I would recommend two things for potential bass players out there. Number one, listen to a lot of Judas Priest. Listen to what Ian Hill's doing. Be the rock solid guy. And number two, learn to stop drooling all over yourself, you dumb motherfuckers.
After so many years of lugging around a 70-pound combo amp for years upstairs and downstairs, walk a few blocks to go to a venue because of limited parking space, etc., I got a Fractal AX8 and then the FN3 secondhand and a power amp. Now all I bring to shows is a gig bag with the FM3 and the power amp, and all I have to borrow is a cap. I still see guys who bring 100-watt tube amps and full stacks to a venue that fits 60 people, and half the time they can't go past 2 on the volume in order to not overpower everything else. I know most people who own expensive tube amps who can't even get the full experience of what a loud tube amp can do because they can't turn it up. Hell, most people at shows are either high or drunk to notice if your tone is real or digital.
Well, there's some grade A unvarnished fucking truth right there now, isn't there? That's an amazing point. Even if you have a great tube amp, chances are the venue you're going to play can't handle something that loud. I mean, like, honestly, you know, in the 60s, okay, that might have been a thing when PAs sucked, but PAs got better, and we can mic cabinets, and we've got all these other things capable of amplifying the guitar just as loudly. Sure, it's glorious to turn the fucking tube amp up all the time, but nobody needs that at, you know, the local shithole that your band's going to be playing at because it's too fucking small. I think that's a great point. And yes, something like a Fractal could make a lot of sense. You know, there's that new Laney loud pedal I just demoed there a couple weeks back. That thing's fucking phenomenal. It's like 60 watts and the size of a pedal. What's not to love about that? Hell, the only thing that sucks about that nowadays is lugging around the speakers. Speaking of speakers, though, I do have the new Black Star amp with the super lightweight speakers. I'm really curious to hear how that's going to sound. I got to mic it up, bring it in here, see if the speakers are going to be a weak point or a strong point. I honestly don't know, but I'm very curious because that cabinet is very light, and I think that's super fucking cool, and I'd like to see more stuff done with neodymium magnets or neodymium, however the fuck you pronounce it. I'm sure somebody will correct me in the comments below. It's one thing I love about you guys. You love telling me when I'm wrong. Seriously, though, I don't know how the fuck. The Neo speakers. How about that? Let's just call that. But they're super lightweight, and you know, like lift that cabinet with one hand. You could probably strap it to a bicycle or something like that and be absolutely fine carrying that to a gig. And they've definitely got the power handle, and they'll probably be loud enough too. Anyway, I really got to bring that thing in here and demo it, that's for sure. Make sure you subscribe so you get reminded when that one comes up. Once again, please subscribe. I really need your help, guys. I'd very much appreciate it. Help me grow this thing and help me help you.
What's funny is I had a gig last night and my sound was really shit. I was thinking about what I could do to fix my tone from the first set and contemplated going home and getting my other guitar because I wanted to blame the guitar, but then decided to change the cabinet I was using, and magically during the second set, everything sounded so much better. Who would have thunk it?
Oh, I don't know, man. I think that's a bit of a mystery, don't you? I mean, like, somebody must have changed the tubes in your amp when you weren't looking. Couldn't have possibly been the speaker.
Glenn, I love your videos as a guy who is into vintage gear himself. Sometimes people get all assy over the cost of something that they rage when they say that thing is not worth as much as they think it is. My goal is as a musician to chase the sound of the 1960s, and I feel like I do that pretty well on a budget. Since I got priced out of the market for vintage Fender and Gibson stuff, I've looked towards things like Harmony K guitars as well as even real weird stuff like Soviet-made axes. And I've honestly made better off with that stuff more than vintage Fender Gibson stuff I played borrow. Have you ever thought about covering guitars from the former Eastern Bloc countries? I've never seen any of the big name YouTubers cover them.
Nathan, thanks so much for writing in. I really appreciate that. I'm going to give a couple recommendations. If you're after that vintage thing, go check out Ryan Burke over at 60 Cycle Hum because he does a lot of the whole vintage surf tone kind of stuff. He does some really great stuff. Great player, great guy. If you haven't subscribed to his channel, I'd highly recommend him. He's just a wonderful dude. That being said, I love a lot of Eastern Bloc tech. I'm a big fan of, you know, Russian-made microphones. Like I'm still talking through my Octava that I bought way back in like 2000. It's an Octava MCO 82 or 81, whatever the fuck it is. I've had this thing forever, and it's great. I've used this on literally every fucking show I've ever done. The Russians built great mics. I would love to get Octava on the show, but given the state of world politics right now, I don't know how smart that would be. So the jury's out on that one. I will say this, though. I had an Eastern Bloc camera. It was called a Practica, and that got me through 3 years of film school. That thing was fucking awesome. It was built like a freaking tank. The lens on it wasn't the greatest, but it was a definitely rock solid performer. So I've got a bit of soft spot for, you know, old Eastern Bloc kind of tech from the 60s. I mean, I've got a few Russian lenses. I've got a mirror, and I really do want to get my hands on like the Jupiter, you know, portrait lens, that kind of stuff. What's the other one? The Helios. The Helios 58mm is just absolutely fucking legendary, and you can get them really cheap these days still. Just really solid stuff. As for guitars, I think that'd be cool. That might be worth checking out. I don't know if they're any good or not. Remains to be seen. Another place to get great vintage gear is from Canada, actually, because the trainer amps that were built in the 60s, they've been nicknamed the Canadian Plexi. I've done a review on my old 66 trainer YB1A. I had it redone and had a master volume mod put on, and that thing is just the sludgiest, gnarliest stoner rock amp you've ever heard in your entire life. And the thing is, in the 90s, you could get them for like 50, 60 bucks because nobody wanted them. They've gone up in price a little bit since then, that's for sure, but they're certainly not going to be, the $3,000 you'd be paying for like a vintage Plexi. But they definitely deliver the goods in terms of build quality because they're all hand-wired, point-to-point, and they're the loudest fucking amps you've ever heard in your entire life, even though they're only 40 watts. Holy fuck, are they loud, like we're talking melt concrete loud. So keep your eyes open for that. And if you want like vintage mic pre's and don't want to drop a crap ton of money on like Neve and API, you can keep your eyes out for the Canadian brand Wardbeck. I've got a bunch of their stuff in here. I've had Wardbeck on the show. Unfortunately, they closed during the pandemic, which really sucks because I was a huge fan of that brand. They've definitely got that Hockey Night in Canada kind of radio sound, that's for sure. Pretty fucking cool stuff. Once again, built like a fucking tank. You can't go wrong with the Wardbeck stuff. So if you come across something, don't pay through the nose for it, that's for sure. But every now and then, you might get lucky and get yourself a very cool deal.
While you're doing the drum mixing video, would you please go to why miking the bottom of the snare is better than not? My buddy who dwells in the mixing on a track says the bottom snare mic SM57 adds only problems and he routinely cuts it out of our mixes. I don't have a great ear for such things and I'm hoping you can shed some light on this. Also in this video, you talked in the future project that you're using hi-hat out of the snare mics and software. Can the same technique be applied to taking the bass drum out of the bottom snare mic? Thanks for your consideration.
Yeah, that's right. I'm working on a couple of drum videos. I had my friend Chrissy Sticks out and we did some drum recording. We had a really good time with it. And yeah, I got some more drum stuff coming up on the show real soon. Can't wait to put that out there. I would definitely recommend a bottom snare mic, that's for sure, but I wouldn't go with a 57. That's kind of not one of my favorites. Any good small diaphragm condenser is probably where I'm going to start with because it's going to give you that nice little sizzle you're looking for. I find that having a top mic and a bottom snare mic are kind of really essential. But remember, you've got to flip the polarity on the bottom mic. Otherwise, you're going to run into serious problems. You're going to lose a lot of the body of the snare. You want to make sure your mics are in phase so they all work together. On that note, I'm also going to be taking a look at Sound Radix's Auto Line 2. I just got a copy of that, and that's going to be pretty freaking cool, that's for sure. And it will help you avoid making those kind of mistakes with phase, especially when it comes to bottom snare mics. Actually, I will say this, my absolute favorite combination right now for top and bottom snare mic is actually the Slate ML2s, the little pencil condensers, because you can get them to emulate the other mics and they'll actually even, duplicate the spill patterns, and you can get some really fantastic combinations just by changing out the different mic models and manipulating the faders, and you don't even have to touch an EQ to get some great results. So maybe have your friend take a look at those instead of working with a straight up 57. You might get better results. Good luck, dude.
Hey Clint, last night I saw a jazz group and the guitar player was running through a Fractal audio system and a volume pedal. No amp. That was it, and he sounded great.
Okay, I'm going to take a wild guess that the Fractal was going into a PA system. I hope, anyway, because if the Fractal wasn't going into anything, chances are you probably wouldn't have heard anything. Now that is probably going to be pretty easy to do at a jazz gig because you're talking, reasonable volume levels and everybody's working together. That's the thing about jazz is you have to be able to play off each other, which means you need to be able to hear each other. So nobody's going to be, I need to turn my amp up louder because I paid $3,000 for it. There's none of that shit going on, Jazz players are actual musicians, whereas at a rock show, you get volume wars. You got the guitar players competing with each other. You got the keyboard player competing with the guitar player. If that's the case, everybody just wants to hear themselves. Me. Rock and roll is a very selfish thing. So bringing a Fractal into a gig might not get you the best results. I mean, like, that was one of the catalysts for this show. Was going to see my buddy's band playing, and he was one of the early adopters of the Fractal tech, and he'd just bring that in and hope the sound guy would get him a decent monitor mix and going out over the PA, and it never fucking happened. And the first half hour of every show the guy ever did was him on his knees with his ass facing the audience, trying to explain how to hook the fucking thing up to the sound guy. That was in 2012, 2013. Hopefully things have improved in the last 10 years. Fingers crossed anyway. Those things have come out quite a bit. But I would still recommend bringing along some kind of a monitoring system and a power amp. That's just me anyway. I wouldn't trust the local sound guy yet. Your mileage may vary, but like I said, I've just seen it go wrong so many times. But
Stop talking about tone wood. You sound like a broken record. Oh, right, because Glenn doesn't ever get tired of hearing about your tone wood, your pickups, your pedals, and your tubes. Who's the broken record here again?
yeah, and all those guys out there who say I sound like a broken record, hey, you know what? That's great. You know what I'd love to hear from you guys? I'd love to hear the good song you wrote.
The amount of people online who claim that the fretboard and bridge material makes a difference in tone without providing evidence of all these claims is just mind-boggling. You can tell who has drank the Kool-Aid.
Now, I'm not sure about the fretboard material. I'm going to take a wild guess it doesn't make that big of a difference because we did do the Tonewood shootout with those two Charbonneau guitars I had made there last year, and they were identical guitars except for the wood types, and the total difference was about, like that. So, there might be a difference, there might not. Who the fuck knows? As for actual bridge material, now this definitely makes me wonder because, the bridge and the nut are what the string is vibrating off of in combination with the pick. If you change up that material, that might indeed affect your tone. At gain, maybe not so much. Again, I did that 10 guitar shootout and the tonal shifts were there, but they're pretty damn minimal, that's for sure. It didn't matter the scale length, it didn't matter the material. All of that kind of went out the window as soon as you put gain on because it's like distortion distorts the tone or something like that. Fucking weird, isn't it? Seriously though, I do need to do a pick shootout and I am going to do a string material shootout as well. I tended to believe that the strings weren't really going to make that big of a difference until I did that review on those Maxima Golds, and those sounded like total dog shit with gain, that's for sure, especially compared to say some SITs or something like that. Made a gigantic fucking difference in tone, and you know what? I'm happy to stand corrected. That was a happy accident. Hey, I learned something there, and I'm always happy to keep learning shit. That's the thing. The show is not about fanaticism. It is about experimenting and learning as we go along. And the best results are always the ones that you didn't expect.
Very few things are exempt from gripes and criticism. I was among the first in line for the Quad Cortex. Plenty of people love it, and another large handful will crap on it. That's fine. I paired it up with some Kali IN8 V2 speakers for home recording and just playing. Someday the QC will be considered obsolete as well. Until then, I sound the best I ever have, and that makes me more enjoy playing. There's no need to get so defensive and enraged. Glenn is here to help regardless of what we have already spent our money on. Perhaps when the time comes to upgrade some gear, Glenn's research and suggestions may be taken into consideration without such contempt. If you're happy with your sound, then that's all that matters. Technology today means that you can improve something for a fraction of the cost. And that's not the worst thing in the world. If this helped lower anyone's blood pressure, then it's not in vain. Happy riffing.
Dude, thanks so much. You know what? That really makes me happy that the message is getting out to some people that you don't need to drop a crap ton of money to get great results. I mean, like, hey, I am not shitting on the Quad Cortex. It's a beautiful piece of gear, and it's what I'd expect out of a 2023 super high-tech guitar gizmo. This is exactly the kind of stuff we should be getting. That being said, I think my current favorite is this thing right here because this is only $3.99, and if you're a kid who's looking to get into playing guitar, this is the golden ticket right here. I would have killed for something like this when I was 15. I had an 85 watt Gorilla I probably paid the $400 for back then, and it sounded like absolute ass. What you can get these days is just fucking mind-boggling and for not a whole lot of money. I think that's a total win for any kid who's going to want to learn how to play. And that's the thing, if your Kemper, your Quad Cortex, your Fractal, whatever, if you're happy with the sounds you're getting from it, that's absolutely fine. I'd suggest, using those tones and writing something memorable and writing something awesome. I want to hear that. But if you're new to this and you want to get into this or something like that, and you don't want to drop a whole lot of money, this is an absolute fucking winner. This is a win not only for Tonex, but this is a win for the players, in my opinion. All right, guys, that's the show. I hope you're going to have an amazing weekend. Once again, the sale on this shirt ends Sunday night. Silly Guitarist, tone is in the speaker. Once again, you can get the mug, you can get the sticker, you can get it this weekend and this weekend only. So if you want to get your hands on it, go get yourself one right now because the sale is going to end Sunday night. And before I go, I just want to point you guys at this video right here. This is what actually changes guitar tone. I did put this video out about a year ago, and I go through all the steps. I go through pickups and speakers and cabinets and mics and show you guys what the actual differences are. It took a lot of work to put together, and if you're curious about what's really going to affect your tone, this is really going to open your eyes. Check it out right here.